Hello, everybody. It's the Worm, and welcome back to Steins. Hope you're all doing well. Today, we're going to start off a bit relaxed. We're going to have this nice musical accompaniment here as we're going to take our time and do a little housekeeping, I think. Yeah, and Mr. Rumiho will keep us company for that. He's a nice-looking guy, I'm glad he can keep us company. Well, I'm not sure exactly how long he'll be keeping us company if we go ahead and reverse the D-mail, then he may not be keeping us company for very long, but that's getting a bit ahead of ourselves. So, essentially, what I wanted to do here at the beginning of this episode was to kind of just go over a few things that have been kind of building up for the past couple episodes. And what I mean when I say that is, I feel like things have been getting a bit confused for me personally, so I wanted to go ahead and I typed up some notes, and there's a few YouTube comments I'd like to address, just to sort of try to help me figure things out myself. So, I'm going to go ahead and have a little extended intro here, before we get on with the exact episode. And I'm going to try and remember, okay, Worm, remember to put some... chapters in the YouTube video, so that people, if anyone wants to skip this little discussion, I'm going to go ahead and say I'm going to put these chapters in, so that you can go ahead and skip straight to when I actually start the episode proper. Otherwise, if you'd like to stick around for however long it takes for me to get through my notes here, then you're free to join me and try to straighten some things out for me, because I might need some help. So, yeah, to get started, I wanted to talk specifically about the D-mails. So, our objective has become more clear since a few episodes ago. We've started this whole Feyris arc of the story trying to reverse the D-mail that she sent. So, because of that, I wanted to try and get this all straightened out, where I know exactly what the D-mails we sent are, what their changes were, when they were sent, all that sort of stuff. I want to get that straightened out for my own sake, so that going forward, I could sort of understand what we did and what we're trying to undo, because I feel like that's kind of important. So, should I start from the very beginning, or should I start from the latest one? Let's start from the very beginning, okay? So this is just these are some simple notes that I took just to sort of. Okay, let's just start this one. So, the very first D-mail that we sent was sent on the 28th of July. That was, yeah. So that was the 28th of July. This would have been episode 2 of my playthrough. And it was sent about a week ago. So a week from the 28th, that would have been... that would have been the 21st. It was sent to Daru, and that particular message, it got split into 3. That was a bit mysterious, but we learned that it was due to the limit on the amount of bits or bytes that we can send back. And in particular, the message that was sent was from Okabe, and it was regarding Krisu, who he found stabbed at in a sort of back room at Dr. Nakabachi's conference. And so crucially, I don't know. This one's very mysterious to me because the change seems huge, and I don't understand how it's related to the message that was sent. So, it was about Krisu being stabbed. It was sent to Daru, and we don't know how that changed things because Daru later mentions he remembers getting that message, but it's not like he took that message and then did something because of it. Like he didn't. He just mentions, "Oh yeah, I remember seeing that, and it was dated from the future," and he thought that was weird. So, how does that make the change? Which there's a few different changes here. One, Krisu's not dead. She's not stabbed in the. Was she stabbed? I think she was stabbed. She's not found stabbed in the back room, and Suzuha's machine, instead of landing perfectly on the roof, ends up crashed into the side of the Radikan building. That's... How in the world does a message sent a week back, how does that make such a huge change? So that one's entirely a mystery for me. But... And I think it might... I don't know if it'll remain a mystery, but it may not be pertinent to what we're trying to do here. Because after that whole... Well, it's after that D-mail change that we get the IBN. So it's... We're not trying to reverse all the D-mails. We're just trying to reverse the D-mails up into where we have the IBN 5100. So, I will be very curious if we'll ever actually address that first D-mail, because that one is very mysterious. And here's the weird thing, too. Now that we have all this information on divergence and stuff like that, listen to this. The very first numbers that we saw, we went from 1.130426 to 0.571024. And now, at the time we had no idea what those numbers were. Now, though, we know that the numbers are from the device. Well, so they're specifically depicting the device that future Okabe will make that can measure divergence. And here's the craziest thing that I realized when putting this information together. Our whole goal, at least the goal that Suzuha gave for us, was to get beyond 1% divergence, and those are what those numbers indicate. If this is accurate, then the very first world line that we at least started with the story, we were already beyond 1% divergence. Now, what does that mean? I'm not sure, but that would seem to indicate we started in the beta attractor field. At least that's what it sort of suggests to me. So I don't know. Is this going to be a weird thing where we somehow had the answer originally? We somehow had already reached the finish line and then we got off track. I don't know. I'm not sure that analogy holds, but I don't know. Something about that is strange. Anyway, that whole first email, I'm just gonna put it aside as huge mystery that I don't know how to solve for now. Okay. The second D-mail that we sent was on the 3rd of August. This was in episode 20 of my playthrough. So this is that's a pretty big jump, 18 episodes later. This was our Lotto 6 change. Yes. Now this one was also sent a week back. So what would that have been? Maybe the 1st, I think, something like that. And in any case, it was sent a week back. And this was the where they tried to do the third the third place, I think it was, lottery winner. And of course, it unfortunately, past Okabe gets the D-mail and thinks it's nonsense. And so he sends it to Lukako, and Lukako botches the number and wins 4th or 5th place or 6th place, something like that. And so a much lower amount of money. So, but beyond that, I'm not sure if there's anything really consequential about this particular change. The numbers, the divergence numbers, we start from 0.571024 and we go to 0.571015, so pretty minor change, all things considered. But again, this I don't think we're gonna have to reverse this one because we still have the IBN after that. So I think we can. It's a pretty innocuous D-mail. I don't think we have to worry. Okay, next, the third one. This happens on the 4th, so the next day, in episode 24 of my playthrough. And it is sent to July 31st, 4 days ago. It is sent by Moeka to Moeka. And the message is to not buy a new phone, because Moeka prefers her old phone. Now this one is a bit mysterious to me in that now that we know who Moeka is, and in particular who she serves, I have to wonder, is this her trying to confirm, it's a real time machine herself, or what's really the deal here? And I guess a larger consequence for it is after the change happens, Moeka is no longer a lab mem afterwards. So, yeah, I'm not sure how consequential that is, but once again, I'm not this is a D-mail that does not affect where the IBN 5100 is. So, maybe in the future, this D-mail and what happened with Moeka, maybe this will give us more insight into Moeka as we go forward, because I think we'll get more on Moeka eventually, right? I'm assuming at this point that a lot of our characters are going to have their own sort of arc, or maybe even own endings. Suzuha had an ending. I'm assuming we're going to get a Feyris ending. Why wouldn't Moeka get one too, So maybe we'll just have to wait for more information on that. But presumably, we won't have to reverse this D-mail either. Okay, the 4th D-mail. Oh, and I should say the numbers for the third one. This one goes from 0.571015 to 0.523299. A bigger jump than previously, but still maybe not that huge in the grand scheme of things. Okay. All right, the next one. This next one is the most consequential. Well, it seems to me to be the most consequential one so far, for more than one reason. Well, maybe not. Maybe compared to the first one. The first one is still so mysterious, I don't know. But this one happens on the 6th of August, episode 27 of my playthrough. And it is sent to January 1st, 1993 to Lukako's mother's pager, with the message of, eat more vegetables. And of course, the two huge things that this D-mail does is, one, Lukako is now born a girl, but that might be a sort of kind of a joke or distraction from the real big event here, which is the IBN 5100 disappears. Now, I did try to skim through the episode. We did confirm it from Lukako's dad that the story was still the same. The IBN 5100 was donated to the shrine, but Lukaku's dad doesn't know what happened to it or where it went. And yet it is somehow disappeared from... But it's not in our lab, so we don't know when or where it went, or how that D-mail caused it to leave, or caused it to change location. So clearly, that's going to be... This is the very first of the D-mails that we're going to have to change. I say first. I'm getting... we're going to have to go in order, so it's going to be the last D-mail that we'll probably have to change. And the numbers are 0.5232 or 0.523299 to 0.456903. Okay, next one is the this is the fifth one. This is on the 7th of August, episode 29 of my playthrough, and it's sent to April 3rd, 2000. And we've just learned what was sent. This was sent by Feyris, and it was... We don't know the specific contents of the D-mail, but it prevented her father's death. And as a result, the Feyris' father maintained control of Akihabara, and it remained a tech hub rather than a Moe hub. So that's what we're working on reversing at the moment. I'm not sure exactly if this D-mail affected the story where the IBN was donated to the shrine, because supposedly it was Feyris or Feyris' family that donated the IBN. So I'm not sure if this particular D-mail affected that story. Maybe it did. I'm not sure we have those details just yet. And the numbers are 0.456903 and 0.49420. Okay. Next is the sixth one was on the 10th of August, episode 32. It was sent to the 9th of August around 4 p.m. And this is the one where Okabe sent himself to make him search for Suzuha and bring her to the party. And the particular event this is known for is it prevented the use of the time machine and it broke from the rain. And I think we can kind of just go by this one because we've already reversed it. We're already past that. Suzuha went to the past and really hasn't done as much as I thought she would have done, even with her memories. I'm still thinking she has to have done something, right? I'm still hopeful, at least, that maybe Suzuha was able to do something or prepare something in the past for us here in the present, even if it wasn't the IBN. But I guess we'll just have to wait and see. And the numbers here are 0.409420 to 0.337187. Okay. And then, so that was the sixth D-mail, and now the latest and final D-mail so far is this is the seventh. This was on the 13th of August. It was in episode 51. It was sent to the 9th of August, and this one was the one to reset, or reverse, the sixth D-mail, and allow Suzuha to use the time machine before it broke. So, we kind of already went through that. The numbers are 0.337187 to 0.409431. And part of the reason I bring up the divergence numbers here is I want to point out something. And I'm not sure how relevant it is, but the numbers here are going in a certain direction, if you'll notice. Notice how in the very beginning we're 1.1, then we're 0.5, or 0.57, then we're 0.57, well, that one's very close. Then we're 0.52, so that's, yeah, then we're 0.57 to 0.52, then we're 0.52 to 0.45, then we're 0.45 to 0.49, that's going up a bit, but it's still close. Oh no, excuse me, 0.409. So still the same trajectory. Then we're 0.409 to 0.337. Then we're 0.337 to 0.4009. Okay, so the point I'm trying to make here is that as we continue to do as we continued to do the D-mails, it seems we're getting less divergent from the original timeline. And not original is not the correct word. From the original timeline of the future Okabe who made the divergent device. We're getting closer and closer to that specific world line the more D-mails we made. And I have no idea what that means. Now, and this is pretty crucial too. When we reversed the 6th D-mail using the 7th D-mail, we went from 0.337 to 0.409. We reversed the trend. We went back away, farther away from that original timeline, or world line. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure entirely what that means, but I think in particular, it means that Okabe is on the correct track. That reversing all the D-mails is how you get to over 1% divergence. Because we reversed one of the D-mails, and we've already gone, and we've reversed the trend. We're now the percentage has increased rather than decreased again. So, yeah. So that's my D-mail discussion there, just to sort of make sure I'm clear on what's going on, because I was starting to get confused on exactly what was what, and, you know, when was everything sent, and what were the consequences of each. I just wanted to make sure I was clear on that before moving forward. I need a drink of water. 1 second. Okay. Now, that's out of the way. Let's talk about the next thing here. I can put this away now. There's a couple YouTube comments I want to talk about. In particular, this is going back to episode 53, I think. And I'm not disagreeing with anyone. I'm just trying to work through this. So this first one I'm looking at here. Okay, I'm just gonna read it out loud. This is in response to me. It says, "You asked why not just do the first D-mail instead of going in reverse. If you undid the D-mail for Lukako without changing the one for Feyris, you would undoubtedly end up on a separate world line from any so far, a world line where anime is still gone from the city, but Lukako is a boy. There's no way of knowing whether on this new world line Okabe gets the IBN 5100 or not. And that assumes that it works in the first place because a D-mail like Moeka's, which happened more recently than Feyris's, could be affected by Feyris's D-mail." That was from Rondi675. Thanks for your input. Yeah. So that was responding to me in that episode where I said something like, well, how come... Well, we started to do this plan, which is to reverse all our D-mails, and then starting from Feyris. And I said something like, well, why don't we just go back to the one we know... we know the specific one that caused the IBN to disappear. That was the one where Lukako's was born a girl rather than a boy. The one we sent to the pager. And I said, why don't we just reverse that one? Because, you know, that was the one. So, I'm trying to think through this in my mind. I think you're correct. I think you're correct. It's just, I'm trying to work through it myself here. And this is where I get kind of tangled up. So, I'm imagining, say we do what I said. Reverse that particular D-mail, the Lukako one. Where I get caught up in is, are the other D-mails that happen after that, are they not sort of contingent on the previous D-mails that we already did? So, if we reverse, like in the comment I just read, it's assuming that even if we reverse the Lukaku one, the Faris one, the D-mail that happened later would still happen. Like, say, what if the message we did was something like this? We send Okabe a message, and it says something like, "Do not test D-mail, it's a CERN plot." You know, something like that. And just stop him from doing D-mails. Now, would that really work? I'm not sure, but just say hypothetically it does. Would that solve the problem, or no? That's my question. Because, yeah, that's sort of my question. If it doesn't work out, then that's fine. I mean, I'm okay with the idea is we need to reverse each individual D-mail. I'm fine with going through that story. I'm just sort of wondering why we couldn't do it the other way. Yeah. And then there was another comment here. Let me see. Let's see here. Okay. This one was from Lise. One second. Give me one moment. Okay, so this next part of the comments here, but from Lise here. I think it's in response to sort of what I just said. So I just said something like, you know, why don't we stop Okabe from doing any D-mails? And then Lise said this. So, not possible. D-mails technically were never sent on this world line, so you can't prevent someone from sending it. Like the timeline where Moeka wasn't a lab member after she sent her D-mail, how would you prevent her from sending the D-mail if she wasn't a lab member in the first place? Yeah, so this one confuses me, I must say. So, I mean, I think that's a good point. Yeah, so so let's take this particular example here. In the Moeka one, she became a lab mem. She was at the lab. We allowed her to experiment. She sent the D-mail. The D-mail caused her not to get a new phone, and I can't remember the exact particulars right now, but that caused her, I guess maybe she missed some messages from us or something. I'm not sure what. And so she didn't come over to the lab. She wasn't made a lab mem. And so, yeah. So then, if she was never at the lab, because that history was changed, I suppose... Yeah, and I guess this goes for the Lotto 6-2 example, because if we think about the Lotto 6 example, after we changed the past, when Okabe brought up doing the experiment with the Lotto 6, the other people, they hadn't heard of it. Or Kurisu and Daru, they acted like they... Well, it's not that they acted. They didn't hear of it. So clearly the idea hadn't come up in that world line. And only Okabe remembers because of his reading Steiner. So... But... So yeah, so... Man, this is confusing to me. So, okay, so I guess this goes to the whole multi-world line. I guess this goes to... yeah, okay, so... so this is going to the multiple world line theory. This is a yeah. Okay, I think I see now. If it were only a single timeline, maybe. But no. Now I'm confusing myself again. So this is a multiple. These are multiple world lines. So in the Moega example, we were no longer on a world line where she was a lab mem. So of course, if we sent the D-mail back telling us not to let her experiment, she was never there to experiment in the first place. Okay. And yet somehow... Well, then how would we be able to reverse any D-mails at all? Now I feel so tangled. Okay, how we reverse it is we reverse the effect. We don't reverse the sending of the D-mail. We reverse the effect of the D-mail. That's what we do. So okay, sorry, I got myself confused. Okay, so we're not going. So like let's take this particular example of where we are in the story. We're not gonna prevent. I think I see now. We're not gonna prevent Feyris from sending a D-mail. We're going to reverse the effect of her D-mail, which was her father's survival. We're going to send a D-mail that causes her father's death, and that will return Akihabara to its previous state, and effectively reverse the sending of the previous D-mail. Is that right? Okay. So yeah, okay, I see now. So that's why we couldn't send... That's why we can't send a D-mail telling them not to do a D-mail. Well, okay, I think that's it. But then so that's a separate point from what Ron D675 was making. But yeah. Okay. Sorry about that. Again, I'm just trying to... This is my first time through this game. Trying to work through it. I'm not sure I'm doing a very good job, but... Okay, so I think I understand Lisa's comment now, so that's good. And the Ron D675's comment. We undid the one for Luca without changing the one for Ferris. Yeah, I guess I'm just for that one. I'm just not sure if it's the case that all of the if the D-mails are contingent on the previous D-mails or not. Because okay, let's stop talking about that. All I'm gonna do is confuse myself further, I think. But at least I think I've managed to solve at least some of it, I think. Okay. Next topic I want to talk about is well, just the point. I saw a couple people make the point that maybe I was being a bit harsh on Feyris and her arc, and I think that's fair enough. It's just for me in particular, Feyris' kind of character and the type of sort of card tournament they were doing, that didn't really that didn't really do it for me. But I think Lise made this point, as a kind of palate cleanser for all the depressing stuff that happened before. I can see it being a nicer, a nice change of pace from the depressing stuff. So in that sense, I think I can appreciate what they were going for here. So, I mean, clearly now we're going to be diving back into more serious stuff, where we're deciding the fate of a man's life here. So yeah, I just wanted to mention that I understand that. Wow, I've been going for over a half hour already. Should I make this its own separate thing? Maybe. You know what? After this point, I was going to sort of talk about the previous episode because there's a lot of really important stuff with that episode regarding Ferris and reading Steiner before actually getting into the episode proper. But you know what? How about I stop here? I'm gonna make this an addendum. I'm gonna make this its own separate thing so that the people. So yeah, and then I'm gonna start a whole new episode after this where we get into the episode proper. Let's do that instead of making a super long episode. So that the people who are interested in this, they can watch this episode, and people who are not can just watch the episode proper. That sounds good to me. All right, if you've actually watched this video and stuck around to the end, I hope it was somewhat interesting for you. I know I need to be better about this sort of thing. I know that, like, I should... You know, all you had to look... I thought I was going to actually get into the episode, so that's why I had, you know, the screen up. At least there's music, but in the future, maybe I could... I mean, I don't know if I'll ever do this, but have some visual aids or have something happening on the screen so it's not just my voice, but I don't know. We'll see. Okay, next time I'm going to actually talk about what happened in the previous episode. And yeah, we'll get to see what happens. In any case, I've been The Worm. I hope you're doing all right. I hope you'll join me next time for more Steins Gate. Alrighty. See you then.